us when you're ready.
Ready to roll.
Okay, we'll open it right for questions for Coach Santucci. Kelly?
Obviously, you had a lot of work in terms of installation, very different from the offense as you're teaching your system. How do you feel like the guys retain things from the spring, and kind of where do you feel like you're at right now, 3 days in?
Yeah, I think, football's a little different than it was, 6, 7, 8 years ago where, you get summertime with these guys. And, I tell these guys all the time it's year-round. And if you want to be good at this game, there's got to be year-round investment somehow, some way, whether that's individually or with your coaches. So I think our guys have bought into that. A lot of work this summer to continue what we built in the spring. And I think that's helped, building into day 1, 2, and 3 in fall camp. So I like where we're at. The details still have to get ironed out, and I think that's part of camp in general, but especially installing a new defense. So I'm happy with where we're at.
You've added some new faces, both from the recruiting class and the portal since spring practice. What are you seeing from those guys?
Yeah, I think those young guys are talented. The young freshman class is talented, and it's good to see them. The transition from high school to college is tough, especially if you didn't go through spring as a mid-year. So those guys are getting their feet underneath them, and I think the true evaluation for them comes in week 2, week 3 of fall camp. I think some of the guys that are, carried over from the mid-year, right? You got Tajay Butler, who's out there running around. He had 15 practices under his belt. He had a full summer under his belt, and I think that's so beneficial for those guys when they do it. And then I think when you talk about the supplementation with the transfer portal, you talk about the D-line and being able to roll 1, 2, 3 groups out there that compete. I think competition brings out the best in everyone, and I think you see that. The older guys competing with guys that have come in, talking to each other, challenging each other, and I think that's so healthy for the defense, for the unit, and I think that'll bring out the best in them. And then guys like Zach Toby, Jaden Davis, like all of those guys that have come in. Saeed obviously had 15 practices. All of those guys are going to create depth and competition, and that's what we look for. Competition is king. It'll bring out the best in everyone, and I think we're trying to find guys that can help us win. And if they show that they could help us win, they will be on the field. That could be 30 guys. If 30 guys can help us win, 35, 40 guys, great. If it's 25, great. Whoever can help us win, we will find ways to put them on the field.
Jackson.
What's your assessment of where the linebacker group is right now?
Yeah, I'll answer that just like I did in the spring. We are a work in progress, and I will answer that for as long as I'm here. That's just a mindset thing for us as a defense. We're a work in progress. We're working to get better. We're continuing to learn how to command the defense, for our voice to mean something when we say something, and to earn that trust from the rest of our teammates. So we're a work in progress.
Do you feel there's any pressure with this defense to perform at a higher level than maybe they did last year?
That's why I got hired.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not pressure. That's my job. It's just what you sign up for. There's an expectation that you do a good job. And that's the world we live in. Is stop people, create takeaways, and get the ball back to the offense, and don't let them score touchdowns. So that's not pressure. That's just our job.
You have a couple talented guys in space. Trent Tatum, who played some, showed some flashes, but was very inconsistent here. And then Tajay, who you guys brought in. What are you seeing from those two guys, and kind of where do they need to develop to get the kind of, production you'd like to see from that position out?
Yeah, they just got to keep working. I mean, they got to trust what we do, what we put in front of them, and I think part of that's on me, right? Like, I've got to earn their trust. I've got to continue to earn their trust. Since the day I got here, that's all I told them. I said, just give me an opportunity to show up for you. And they've done that, and I think that the progress continues to happen. The expectation is that they continue to progress, and they don't just pause or plateau anywhere, that we continue to get better. And I'm really proud, like Trent Tatum, whatever, he hasn't been under 220 since the end of spring. You know, he's been over 220 since then, and I think he played at 210 last year. So he's held the weight really well. He's keeping the weight in camp. That's really important for him because that was a challenge of mine to him. Is like, how important is it to be over 220, and he's doing it. And then Tajay is just, as he continues to grow as a young football player, he continues to learn lessons like each and every day. So again, those guys will continue to work. Love working with them, and they're great kids.
You have guys come in from high school that played cornerback or safety. What characteristics are you looking for from that whole group as far as the nickel position is concerned?
Yeah, it's very similar. I think all 5 DBs kind of have to have similar skill sets. As I talk about all the time, like DBs are like a basketball team, right? You want the best 5, and guys have different skill sets, but they all have to be able to have like some type of competitive drive where they just want to compete and win in one-on-one situations. You got to be athletic enough to play man-to-man and compete for the ball deep down the field. That's important. You have to have top-end speed, and you got to be physical enough to down the football. So each and every position on our back end, you have to have those things. Now, you cover a little better, you slide out to corner, right? You communicate. Maybe you don't have as good a long speed, you play safety. You tackle a little better, you play safety. Nickel is a great combination of both, and that's what we would like out of those guys. Be able to play man in the slot, be able to play a little bit of zone, and fit the run when we ask you to, and be able to blitz.
Anything else for Coach? Kelly?
I'm sure you were concerned going through the spring with just the bodies on the defensive line, and you had a lot of guys hurt and guys not here, and you guys have rebuilt, especially the defensive tackle position. Does that change your mentality of how you will call defense because you can go with 3 on a field, things like that, get bigger and run situations, have more sub packages, that kind of stuff? Does it give you a lot more flexibility now that you have maybe 8 deep at the D tackle position? Yeah.
Our best players will play, and if that is whatever, you can't play with 5 D tackles at a time. Wish you could at times, but that's not the game we live in anymore. But our best players will play, and I know that the accumulation of reps means something. So even if, maybe we do play three bigger D linemen at times, but when you talk about a 12-game season with 3 bye weeks and a fall camp, and the schedule that's ahead of us, I think you talk about the accumulation of reps and knowing that at some point somebody's number is going to get called, and just making sure that that's right. And I think that's what it allows you to do. Like, the most physical position on the defense is our defensive tackles, and I believe that's how you build it. You build it inside out, from a mentality and a physicality standpoint. And I think when you have 6, 7, 8 bodies that are capable of playing winning football, that allows you to be fresh in the fourth quarter in meaningful games. That allows you to be fresh in week 11, week 12, and continuing on and so forth. So I think that it's hugely beneficial. There's no negative to it. Will it change the defense? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see how that kind of plays out over the next 3 weeks.
Last season, the offense, made a significant jump, because they brought in, some pretty good personnel. Since last season, the personnel that was with the team, you've also pretty much done the same thing with the defense this year. Are you looking forward to making similar positive jumps this season? Yeah,
I think our goal is to be the best version of the 2024 Georgia Tech defense that we can become. We've talked about that since day one. We don't put numbers on it. We don't set goals per se of if we don't hit this goal, we didn't accomplish anything. We talk about continual improvement, the accumulation of small wins over time. We are trying to build habits and routines each and every day so that we have the ability to improve. So I guess, yeah, we want to get better for sure. We want to improve. That's why we're here as a D staff. But just the foundational value of that thing is like, let's just do it every day and let the results happen when they come. So yes, we want to get better. Yeah.
Since we probably won't talk to you before the first game, I'll ask you a question about that. It's unique. Most teams ramp up and play whatever FCS team or a G5 team or something open. You open with Florida State, the defending conference champions. You're playing in Ireland, which is its own set of things. Just kind of how do you go about approaching that? And then in this age of portal, the personnel thing changes so much on every team, including yours. Like, how do you look at all of that as a defensive coordinator as you prepare for the first game?
Yeah. It's interesting because a year ago when I was at Duke, we opened up with Clemson on Labor Day. So that was, I think there's a little bit of a different mindset going into camp and like just knowing that like, hey, like, let's go. And that's kind of what we're in. We start a week earlier than everybody else because we're week 0. I don't know that we do anything different per se, but it's just like it's coming, I guess, more than anything else. And the preparation doesn't change. We don't do anything different, but I just think that it creates a sense of urgency throughout the guys and throughout the team of like they know what's on the horizon. They know that there's challenges ahead. In regards to the portal, like Florida State has done a really good job over the last 3 or 4 years where, some of their highest draft picks over the last 2 years were guys that they brought in defensively, offensively, and now they have a quarterback, where they're going from a guy that has really been a 3 to 4 year starter there and the heart and soul of their team, and now it's a new guy. So, continue to see how they are, and, we'll find out August 24th.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks. All right, guys. Oh, yeah. All right, guys.